Hey, this is Nick from CrossFit Breakthrough. Welcome back to our What is CrossFit series. Is this CrossFit? It's a good question. We define CrossFit as constantly varied, high-intensity, functional movement. Today, we're going to focus in on that third piece, functional movement. It's a pretty hotly debated, it's a term that's thrown around a lot. Everybody says that their fitness program, that the movements they do are functional movements, but everybody's doing different things. So is one group right, one group wrong? Like, what's going on? If everybody's doing different things, labeling it the same, what is a functional movement? CrossFit really popularized that term about 25 years ago. So I think we have some authority to be talking about what do we mean by functional movements. It's in our very definition of what we do. So function is practical. It's useful, right? So if you were a toaster oven, we would say that you would be a functional toaster oven. If you were able to get hot really fast and let me know when my bagels were ready, you would be a functional, useful, practical toaster oven. But you are a human being. You are not a toaster oven. There's a lot of things that you should be able to do that you are capable of potentially doing with your body. Climb, walk, lunge, pick things up, put them over there. Take your body, move it over there. There's so many different capacities that we could have as human beings. So when we talk about a training program doing functional movements, we would argue that the movements you do should make you function better as a human being. So a couple of aspects of functional movements, breaking it down a little bit. How do we recognize a functional movement? So that first point, it should produce better function as a human being. It should produce fitness. We talked about defining fitness as increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. We talked about the 10 general physical skills. So point number one, a functional movement should increase your fitness, increase your capacity to do things, improve your ability across those 10 general physical skills. Point number two, this might be really obvious, but it should maybe somewhat look like human movement. It should maybe be a good expression of what a human is capable of doing. It should look like something you would do outside of the gym. That's maybe a really obvious way to know that something is functional if it looks like everyday life. Improve your function, improve your fitness, maybe look like something a human being should do. Two things that would describe a functional movement. So let's get down to brass tacks here. Might hurt some feelings. On this side, we've got clean, run, jerk, deadlift, muscle up. This side, we've got delt raise, bicep curl, forearm curl, leg extension, ham curls. The list could go on, but this is just a little snapshot. On the left, things that you would see maybe at a CrossFit gym, typically, oftentimes at CrossFit Breakthrough. On the right, some things that you would see other places. So which side is more functional? Well, if we're going to look at our definitions that we gave, we'd ask a couple of questions. If you had a fitness program where you did these 5 movements and then these 5 movements, which would make you more athletic? Which would produce greater levels of fitness? Which would create greater levels across those 10 general physical skills? Strength, power, coordination, accuracy. Which would translate more into what you do outside of the gym? And then also, which looks like human movement? And it might be obvious that I'm kind of leading you to a specific answer here, right? When it comes to looking like human movement, clean, getting something to your shoulders, deadlift, picking something up off the ground, running, obviously jerking, moving something overhead. What about this side? Does this look like human movement? Delt raise, bicep curl, leg extension, hamstring curl, forearm curl. Now, it might seem like we're mocking these. That's not really what we're doing, but that doesn't really look like human movement, right? It might look like a weird dance move or something, or like you're trying to be a bird, but it doesn't really look all that human. Now, we're not snobs about this. We're not trying to be movement elitists or say that all those programs are bad, but we are trying to forge elite fitness, right? We are trying to increase our work capacity across broad time and modal domains. So movements like these on the left, they have a greater propensity to drive intensity, right? We talked about that last week, that intensity drives results. Intensity drives fitness. Which movements, this side or this side, is going to make you more tired? Which movements are going to create a greater physiological response overall in your body? It's very obviously the side on the left. But that's not to say that these are useless. Again, it's not about good or bad, wrong, right. This isn't These aren't evil movements here. We don't hate them. We're not hating on them here. They are just very limited in what they can do. They are limited in scope. They have a very specific purpose. They are accessory movements, so we treat them as such. This is the meat, right? This is the 95%. This is what's going to carry over better into what you are doing inside and outside of the gym. These are going to give you that big overall fitness response. These are something that work really well as a little bit of a sprinkle. Maybe you need to build a muscle for a very specific thing. Maybe you're trying to rehab something. They do have their purpose, and we can talk about that more at another time. They're just kind of like that 3%, 5%. So we treat them as such. This, meat, potatoes, vegetables, this is like salt and cilantro. So that's why we program the way that we do at CrossFit Breakthrough. 95% of the time, you're going to see these compound, multi-joint, high-power, functional movements that kind of look like everyday life. We sprinkle in a little bit of that. If you build a fitness program where you learn to clean, run, jerk, deadlift, muscle up, burpee, box jump, if you become really good at those movements, I know that you're going to be ready for whatever life throws at you outside of the gym. I know that you are going to be very fit, build great capacity. I know that you are going to be a very functional human being.